on the line, I have Sara Stansfield from TPS, Total Personnel Solutions. How are we doing today, Sarah?
I'm well, thank you, Bruce.
Good. So thanks for being on. And we've met in the past at Smart Trucker. Thank you for supporting that series. And tell us what you're doing now. I hear you've done a number of things from driving, but you're now in recruiting. Tell us what your job is now.
That's right. So now my job is an AZ and DZ driver recruiter for Total Personnel Solutions.
Okay.
So we are a placement agency, and we have a variety of local and reputable clients that come to us looking for quality drivers, both full-time and temporary. So it's my job to find those drivers, interview those drivers, road test them, and then place them with a company that best suits their needs and ours.
Right now, is your location still? You're still up in Lively, which is Sudbury. For those people who may not know Lively, is it still there? Or do you have other locations now too? Don't you?
We do actually, yeah. We have a location with Transport Help in Ottawa, but our main branch is in Lively, Ontario.
Okay. Okay. So I'm getting confused with the school. That's why I'm thinking about
Oh, so yeah, well, TPS, Total Personnel Solution, is part of the TPS group of companies.
Right.
So we have the NAT Transportation Training School, we have Transport Help in Ottawa, and then we have Total Personnel Solutions.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So before we get into because you were a driver, but before that, I always like to see people how they can go from one thing and transition to another. Like, so I went the other way. I went from trucking to cartooning, podcasting, and people go, "How do you do that?" Because I think you have to be born in the trucking, and you have to stay there for your whole life. So, just give us an idea of what you were doing before trucking, and then kind of how you got into the trucking industry.
Sure, sure. So actually, trucking was nowhere near where I started. I went to school for public relations with a major in communications at Laurentian University here in Sudbury. I worked for the federal government, actually, doing taxes for over 10 years.
All right, we got to stop the show. I think you need to go. I think there's a lot of drivers that are tuning off right now going, "Oh, wrong, it's the government." She's not in government anymore, folks, just so you know.
Exactly. That was a hard position to be in, first of all, because I'm kind of an out-of-the-box kind of person.
Right.
So working for the government was tough. But it was good for when my son was little, and paying the bills and working 9 to 5 was great. But I knew that's not where I wanted to be.
Right.
I had a friend of mine who was a truck and trailer mechanic, actually.
Okay.
And I would go visit him at his shop, and he'd let me sit in the trucks and play around the trucks and look at the stuff that he was fixing. And it just kind of really intrigued me, these big machines and what they do and what they can do. So when I had decided that I had enough of working for the government, I really thought hard about what I wanted to do. And I said, well, you know what, maybe I want to be a truck driver.
Wow.
And I went completely the wrong direction, or the better direction, actually.
Yeah,
And
but I went from, I love the chrome and all of that, but I just I started in the moving industry, and I just found that the drivers seemed to be doing less work and less lifting of heavy stuff than I was. And that's how I got into it. I think if I saw all the different components of a truck right up front, I'm not sure I would have gone there, because I'm not the most
Oh, no?
mechanically inclined person in the world, right? So
Well, see, I loved it all. I just want to know
that's
how it
great.
all worked and how they turned and how you move these things and how you back them up. So I got to learn all of that.
So did you end up going? You must have gone to a school, I'm assuming. Did you go to a school
Yeah,
to learn how to drive? And what was
I
that
did.
for you?
I came to NAT, the Northern Academy of Transportation Training.
Right.
I went through their 6-week course, and from there I got hired on with TPS, Total Personnel Solutions,
Okay.
and I drove for Manitoulin for 2.5 years.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, and what's funny is that you're the second person that I've seen come through that, came into wanting to drive and then ended up a recruiter. There's a lady that used to work for SGT Transportation, and that's where we met. She was doing presentations, but she was a manager, kind of said, "Oh, I'm going to go and drive a truck." Enjoyed her drive from when she got laid off from a job in Montana or somewhere, had to drive home, really enjoyed the drive, and said, "Maybe I'll be a truck driver." Did that for a couple of years. I don't even think it was a couple of years, maybe 6 months. And she was a recruiter. And I think people see all these extra skills. So she went back to driving because she hadn't gotten the driving out of her blood. What are you still kind of into the driving, or are you settled into what you're doing now?
Oh, I very much still into the driving.
Yeah.
So I recruit Monday to Friday, and then I'm able to drive on the weekends. I'll do short, like Toronto turns and back.
Oh, nice.
When there's some overflow freight that needs to be moved, they call me. So I'm keeping my skills up that way. I don't think the road's ever really going to leave my blood.
It never does. I stopped
No.
driving about 10 years ago, and I'm still, I'm still going to truck shows whenever I can, and I'm still loving the trucks, and just I've got too many things I like to do that I don't think I'd have time for driving. But
Uh,
so you started with Manitoulin. Now, what kind of training did you get? You got training at the school, and then you came into the carrier. And I know that Nat and TPS and Manitoulin have a very good relationship, but um, how was it getting into that market as a female driver? Because some guys are pretty supportive, but some are pretty unforgiving when it comes to that industry, right?
you know what? That yeah, I've heard that, but that hasn't been my experience. I don't know, um, like what's different about my whole experience if it's working with TPS or with Manitoulin. But everyone that I've ever encountered has been kind and helpful. All of the older trucker guys just want to like impart their wisdom to me. So I really feel welcome. I've never had a terrible moment where I felt unwelcome or had any of those, stereotypical cat calls or any of those things happen. I'm fortunate that my whole experience has just been one positive ride.